I don't share the same politics as our next speaker. And I know there are probably some in this room and some outside that don't share the same politics as the speaker. But I had a chance to meet our next speaker. And regardless of whether you share her political beliefs, there are some truths that you need to know about her. One, I think that we have to put aside the images that we see of people from social media, from Twitter, from Facebook, from even mainstream media and CNN, because that's not the core of the person that we're talking about. There are sound bites and there's misinformation out there. And so I encourage anybody, and I learned from this also, that we need to step away from social media. We need to examine truths. We need to talk to people. We need to talk to people who know people that we're talking about. And one thing that I've learned over the last 24 hours after meeting our next speaker is that regardless of whether you agree with her politics or not, one thing that you cannot deny is that she does what is right. She stands up for what is right. She's a politician. She's a lawyer. She has served in the Michigan State House, and she currently serves in the U.S. Congress from Michigan's 13th district. Please, round of applause already. But more importantly, you guys gave it away, right? So, as I was saying, she's a fighter for all of us. She's a role model for all of us and our children. She's brave, and she's a trailblazer. And now I can say that she's a friend of Muslims for Peace. It is my great honor and my privilege to welcome Honorable Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you all so much for your incredibly warm welcome, New Jersey. I cannot thank you. And sometimes you just need fuel. You need to be in a room full of love, full of people that understand the importance of someone like me serving in the United States Congress. Thank you so much for allowing me to continue to speak truth about all forms of oppression all around our country as well as around the world. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. So we're here to really try to be inspired by our incredible faith. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. I always told my children, teach them now, my two sons, Adam's 14, Yusuf is 8, mashallah, and teaching them that in many ways, justice was his middle name. He talked about integration when no one else was talking about integration. He talked about end of slavery before anyone else was talking about ending slavery. And one of the things that I've been inspired by growing up, not only as a child of Palestinian immigrant parents and learning their struggle and learning my ancestors' continued struggle, is the fact that I grew up in the most beautiful, blackest city in the country, the city of Detroit. And every corner of this incredible city that I grew up in is a reminder of various movements around labor rights, civil rights. I mean, you see birth movements now around the right to breathe clean air, right on every corner, not only through art, murals, but also through faith and through being really, truly loving thy neighbor, right? And so I just want you to know, growing up there, my mother, who had a heavy accent, she would be at the school and she would speak up, and because of her accent, she would be such a low voice. And folks know that if you're a child of immigrants, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And my mom would just kind of whisper, and it was the black mothers on the block that said, speak up, people need to hear you. That's the community I grew up in. A community didn't other folks, didn't use these forms of kind of hate because they feared someone that maybe had a different faith or anything. There was a shared value of understanding that all of us want the same exact thing, for our children to be safe, for all of us to be safe, for all of us to have access to opportunities, to better our lives, to live with human dignity. And that's what's so incredible. What Sister Ilhan Omar and I have been able to accomplish, I want you all to know, especially my young sisters and all of you, the young people. You know, my district and Sister Ilhan Omar's district, the majority of our district are fellow Americans that did not share our faith nor our ethnicity. Think about this just 1 minute. During a time where Islamophobia is at its height, we got elected by fellow Americans, majority African American in my district, that didn't share my faith, they were not children of immigrants in many ways, right? All of them, they saw past that. They saw shared values. Say, Muhammad, peace be upon him, he was all about that. It didn't matter somebody else's faith. It was about bringing us together and really speaking up for the oppressed. Sister Ilhan Omar represents a 70% white community. And again, the part of the American story that never, ever gets told, that I want you to share with your children and your grandchildren, is that we were elected by fellow Americans that did not, again, share our faith nor our ethnicity. They also believed in not silencing us and what we stood for. You know, my father only had 4th grade education, and I want to tell you the story because it's important. He grew up in Palestine, and then he went from Nicaragua, found more poverty, then came to the United States at 19 years old. My father was the guy in the 70s that literally put his hand out and said, "What kind of watch do you want?" He hustled to survive, finally gets into Ford Motor Company, but still did not feel like he belonged. Do you know when he felt like he belonged? When he joined the United Auto Workers Union. Like, he joined the UAW. Because on that plant, it didn't matter what your background was, the color of your skin, nothing mattered when you were on the plant. It was you against the corporate greed. It was you standing together side by side, just like, subhanallah, just like بنروح نصلي صلاة الجمعة, Jum'ah prayer. When we're in there side by side, elbow to elbow, right, Imam? We don't know who's rich. We don't know what part. All we know is we are one mission, salat, towards one direction. And I feel like in so many ways, my father found that in labor rights movement. And I feel like in so many ways, all of you need to find that connectivity to our faith, to these movements. Because one thing about Islam, we have to speak up. We cannot wait, and it's us they attack. When I went to the border and saw that 4-year-old boy ask me where his father was, I saw Gaza, I saw Yemen, I saw Syria, I saw Iraq. I saw a form of oppression that we see, that we cannot stand idly by. When a sister at a Muslim, at a masjid in Flint said to me, "Rashida, why isn't anybody speaking up for us? Why isn't anybody saying anything about what they're doing to Muslims?" This was early on, when it was still, 2016. There was an awful a campaign season for many of us. And I looked at her and I said, "But sis, what did you say when he said Mexicans were rapists?" And there was silence, because I knew you cannot wait, brothers and sisters, because when you open the curtain, it is the same people that are profiting off of our pain, the same people that profit off of the pain of the working class, the immigrant community, all of us, all of it. The same people that want to hate us, hate many of us that do not look like them. And you know it, you feel it in your bones. So I want you all to please show up for others this year. Even if you can, and you show up for others. The way we can do it is, and Imam, and you all know this, interfaith dialogue is important. I'm not saying stop it. Please don't. But you have to do it through action too. I want you to show up and stand up. against other forms of oppression. I don't care if it's mass incarceration for our brown and black brothers and sisters, to the caging up of children at the border, to what's happening to the education system in urban communities, the fact that my city doesn't have clean drinking water in many of the schools, all of that, you have to understand as Muslims, as people of various faith, you standing by and doing nothing is exactly the opposite of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, would ever want you to do. And so please speak up for others, show up for others. No, I know, it's hard though, because sometimes I don't want to silence people that feel like what is being said is true, right? That the truth is to that person, right? But I want to answer this. You know, people don't know the story about even how I got into politics or how I got involved, even in just running for office. But the fact that people think because I stand up for my city in Palestine, who deserves to die with human dignity, just solely because of her faith, because of her ethnicity, she doesn't have equality. Well, growing up in the blackest city in the country, I know that having her go through checkpoints is a form of oppression. Having her not be able to live in whatever community she lives on the land that she was born in is a form of oppression. We cannot stand idly by and allow people to say, because I stand up for her, that somehow I do it not from a place of love. And let me tell you, everyone knows where I was going to go when I was going to go visit my city. I was going to meet with Israelis who are against the occupation, against other people that share the same values that no one ever gets to listen to, and especially members of Congress. Do you know, even in the country of, like even in the state of Israel, there are people that are with us, Israelis who are saying to me, thank you for speaking up. Thank you. Because just like in Islam, we don't want people to use the faith, right? To use it from a form of oppression. So we're constantly fighting back against that form of oppression. And for so many of my friends who share of Jewish faith, there are Jews that are saying, please don't use my faith as a way as oppressing someone else. And so please don't let people translate what you do when you speak up for Kashmiris or for Syrians or for anybody. Don't ever let anyone try to bully you and call you a racist. No, there's no way in my bones do I not speak up and know that if my grandmother is not free, no one is free in Palestine or Israel. So with that, know this. I welcome opposition and dissent because I want you to know it is the most American thing you can do. All you do, though, is speak truth. And that's all I can do, is speak truth to power. Even if my voice shakes, I speak truth. And I tell you, no matter how much I push back, and you all know this, they will try to paint us as anti-this and anti-that. But guess what? I'm pro-equality, pro-justice, pro-human rights, pro-freedom. And those that want to try to paint it as anything but from a place of love, and from a person that grew up not only with such strength from my Palestinian ancestors, but growing up in a community that understood not only segregation and forms of discrimination and what's happening in community. Those are the teachers and the mothers that taught me that kind of oppression needs to always be fought back on, always, because silence to us is condoning it. So I hope this year, and I'm going to sit out this year, please show up for others. I hear a lot of you say to me, I just can't, I'm exhausted. But things about Muslims, mashallah, is if I tell you to show up for your brother, you will, even if you won't show up for yourself. So I'm asking you, show up for someone else at the ballot box, when someone is getting attacked, when somebody feels unheard or unseen. Show up for them, because that's the only way we will fight back against hate. Thank you so much.